everybody. Welcome in, welcome again. My name is Rob Arnold. For those of you who haven't been with us all day, I'm the executive director here at Poets House. And I just want to, again, thank you all for being here in what I hope has been a space of possibility, a space of complexity, a space of indigeneity, and ultimately a space of poetry, which is what one of the things that unites all of us in this room. And I think of poetry as a unifying force, so I'm really glad to have you here here at Poets House. I do want to have an opportunity to thank once again our amazing partners in this project, the Battery Park City Authority, who, as I mentioned yesterday, approved a round of funding to partially fund this, and then when every other funder fell through because of the current administration's priority shift, came back in and doubled their commitment to this symposium. So thank you so much again to the Battery Park City Authority. And I want to thank also our other amazing partners, NYU Center Circle, Indigenous Nations Poets, and Poetry Northwest. If you don't know these organizations, you must. They're essential. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to be the host tonight, so I get to relax after moderating all the sessions earlier today. If you missed those sessions because you had other things to do today, very important things, potentially protests or some other kinds of activities, we will be having those available on our website at some point. So let us, we can, hopefully you'll find that soon. And again, thank you again for being here. We are going to close this weekend, the public events for this weekend, with this wonderful reading that is going to be hosted by my colleague, Maria Elisa Schmidt. And so please welcome Maria Elisa.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Rob. This has been a fascinating weekend, and it's my absolute pleasure to be presenting such amazing poets tonight. And yeah, so like Rob said, this is our final reading of the Indigenous Poetics Forum that was celebrated yesterday and today at Poets House. And like Rob said, my name is Maria Elisa Schmidt. I'm also known as Marie, and I'm super, super happy to be here with all of you tonight. This weekend, I have learned so much from each and every one of the poets, and it has been a privilege witnessing everyone getting together and talking about language, identity, poetry in such like politically charged times that make us feel like we are isolated. It's super beautiful to see how people come together and share space and just like hold empathy for other people and poetry. So it's really, really wonderful to be here tonight. And before going ahead and introducing the amazing readers for tonight, I would also like to thank Mike, who's been like doing an amazing job all weekend. He's been in charge of the video and the audio and just doing an amazing work. And also my other colleague, Car, who is at the front desk right now, welcoming everyone. And just like the people who probably you saw at some point today or not, but Leo, Subin, Chris, and everyone else on Poets House team. Okay, but I don't want to extend myself too much more. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our first reader of this evening, Dr. Tacey M. Atsitty. Dr. Tacey M. Atsitty, who is Sleep Rock people and born for Tangle people. Atsitty is a recipient of the Wisconsin Brittingham Prize for Poetry and other prizes. She holds bachelor's degrees from Brigham Young University and the Institute of American Indian Arts, and an MFA in creative writing from Cornell University. Her work has appeared or is forthcoming in Poetry, Epoch, Kenyon Review, online, Prairie Schooner, When the Light of the World Was Subdued, Our Songs Came Through, a Norton Anthology of Native Nations Poetry, Leavings, and other publications. Her first book is Rain Scald, and her second book is At Risk. She's a member of the Advisory Council for BYU's Charles Reed Center for Western Studies and a board member for Light Scatter Press. She has a PhD in creative writing from Florida State University and is assistant professor of creative writing at Beloit College in Wisconsin, where she lives with her husband. Please give it up for Tacey, everyone.
Thank you, Maria Elisa. I'm really grateful to be here with everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming, and Poets House for having me. Yat eshe sani adal ineda shijine sena habitlin ishla tkhatnes ni bashishchin do tkhatnes do hashka hazod ashinala. So my name is Tacey, my English name, and my Navajo name is Sani Edel Ine, which means she who is like old women. And so people say, oh, you're wise. And I said, no, my back hurts and I go to bed early. So, which is true. So that's how I got the name. I'm going to read one poem from my first book, Rain Scald. And I was really happy to recently, just a few days ago, visit Ithaca, where I did my MFA at Cornell. I'd shown my husband around and all my old stomping grounds. And so that's where I had written this. This was my, my MFA thesis. This is Rain Scald. When standing in rain for so long, you no longer hear or feel it falling. You believe it's stopped. Step away, look to your skin, muck, itch. It's a shame your hands have gone bald from fungus, taking you to what's beneath scab, to one of those nights when you know your gums will bleed. To say it's been a while, or it has to do with wrist mange, is to say rot comes so easily now. Skin weep, lapse, step through the whole black of your home and still know damp, know exactly when to bend your finger for the light switch. So familiar in a bod, shame, your hands have gone haywire, taking you to what's beneath rust ranges they've grazed. A time when you're combed through, when you know your knuckles and all that rain has swallowed. So the rest of the poems that I'm going to read tonight is a sonnet redoublé. I don't speak French. Redoubled, as I think is how you would say it, from At Risk. And so it's a sequence of 15 poems, 15 sonnets. And each of the sonnets, after the first, they take one line. Their last line is from each of the lines from the first sonnet. So this is lacing. Oh, and I usually don't give too much context with this book, just because out of respect for my husband, this was all before my husband, and this is all about, you know, love and unrequited love and just all those kinds of love. But anyway, so I just hope you enjoy this string of sonnets. Lacing. He seemed nothing more than plastic, opaque, without any emotion wearing down his tongue, like rain off the leaf of a boy's flower or muscle ache. It began like that. He didn't care for me so young. We both had pollen falling from our backs. He said he'd never remember me that way, when the sky breaks from the throwing of our jacks and cracks like veins of a leaf mid-air, mid-May. There I was, all spread out for the taking, waiting to be collected by calloused fists. We came and went as if we were lace for the breaking, our lives rounding out like arcs of our wrists. We were taught to approach each other the way we approach land and sky, kneeling together on that day. 1. Dear Mother, I pointed my lips like him, same direction and tilt of the head. He loved the ones who confused words said in bed near window panes, lighting stems of candles. They'd overhear as if at the gym, and when the flicker eased into a dead poof, they'd whirl off like smoke, light enough to get them on their way. A hymn quivers through me roadside. Dear sir, this is how my father taught me to leave water at my mother's graveside. At her wake, her skin laid whist, just like our eyes were the first time we met. Though I tried to heave, she seemed nothing more than plastic, opaque. 2. These days I've taken to agreeing with everyone. I agreed my cousin shouldn't have worn orange to her father's wedding, like I'd rather see it shorn off her body as if she were a woolly one of my sheep. I agreed we should have left everyone waiting in hunger, just to let them ache some, mourn the sliced neck and belly of a recently worn lamb. It was his time anyway, I agreed. Everyone knows what it's like to be sheared, the stubble that follows the shine. We tend to curl like the peeled rind of an orange, a lung or two in its first stage of shrivel falls to rubble. A dry heaving, and that would be me, the girl without any emotion wearing down her tongue. 3. Tonight, I'm going to show him how I got good at petitioning for rain, how I came to handle drowning, and how I came to turn away from candlelight because the flicker simply overwhelmed me. Could I, in his absence, pass my hand over limbs of wood? Tonight, though we're walking in years between us, a candle brings us a cloud closer to a deeper hue, and we handle any breeze that turns us inside out. I leave on my hood, afraid I'll forget I even changed, forget his whirl. If he were rain, I'd quit him before he even fell. I was taught not to run when it finally came, but to take it all in. I couldn't. It's the way my hands and face whirl off like utterance in the wind, and my drowning quells like rain off the leaf of a boy's flower or muscle ache. 4. It began. He wouldn't loll with me on the river, just lied belly down, swiveled his body facing the bank. I gripped his ankles when he asked as his tube sank. Water has gone chocolate. Give indulgence to the giver, a ribbon. As a child, I'd clamber here just to quiver, descend a fallen cottonwood and marsh to reach the rank of my solace. There ebbs my shadow and ripples, all dank and caught up in someone else's mirage. It's begun to shiver. How long can clouds keep this up? All thunder and no lightning, black stirs above us, neither of us fall in or over or out. All along I sung the river to bend, rapids to rise, for him to cup his torso toward me, just a swerve even, without a fuss. It began like that. He didn't care for me, so young. 5. We swerve like honeybees round the mouth of a frosted spigot, as if we have no real lives to tend to, no real roles in our own stories. Hives gone gray too soon. This is the time of mouths, ducks arc into throat. Is this how we really live? We drink winter honey as if lacking couth, then back to autumn to mourn the wives who fell in the rain against a blade, now Ruth with streaks of. That time we rushed like rain to meet along ridges of the Cheskas. Our first flight, it's how we came to burst forth from wax. The moon hollowed into a hook, hung at our feet, and in its light from lake to temple. That last night, we both had pollen falling from our backs. 6. We never spoke of fuse or salts before the day we spent along windows, spooning gray squash inside us. We were the kind a ways off from our eyes, and while sunlight wore us thin, we saw we were not as we were before. Masses of pieced faces no longer kept at bay. I felt temples with stained leaves. It's like they lay dancing in still motion until wind caught them, then tore through them in a breath's chime. In fog, I won't raise my eyes to his, won't touch the glass inside me, feel it long enough to remember my own hands, the way they pressed fragile surfaces. Such was I raised. Though I had forgotten every shard beneath my heels, he said he'd never remember me that way. 7. Sometimes I kneel down to play a game from my childhood. Only then I can feel grains of gravel, each pebble digs in so real. Sometimes I act as though I am the same, a young girl rope in hand at the tetherball game. I blare out rule after rule and feel them peel within me, as though I'm chanting to be healed from some minor infraction. It's lame, to say the least, to be kneeling alone with socks full of holes. So he came to play. From the lining of his vest, he took out jacks and a small rubber ball. "You're not here alone," he said, before throwing his with mine. "Let's play until the sky breaks from the throwing of our jacks." 8. Believe me, it's more than breath or shine that's kept us from falling. 'Twas a glance from a dark time paused for a slow dance. I'm not sure when he became benign, leaf scar in rhythm down the vine, caught by a blossom, thrown in a trance by its death. Thus is the desert's stance, lone, kneading into itself. In fine, that's how I saw him, the way he left me, crisp as a leaf. We noted scars and passed to the passings. Still, I'll gray best I can, waft this way and that. Bereft, I happen in like a line of scars, cracked veins of leaves, mid-air, mid-May. 9. There I was, all spread out for the taking, bloomed wings waiting for winter sleet. It was a long season of drinking whole creeks and nothing else. We turned desert into desert. What I'm saying is, neither the desert rat nor damselfly can bear the nosebleeds, shoal-laced face bearing down in time to overwinter. There I was, all spread out for the taking. In truth, nobody wants water this thin. One swallow and we're off to dig for more within a mouth, a hollow womb. This morning we sip water, discussing the trauma in our blood. Salt water. There it rests in droplets on my breast skin. Oh, I say, my tears, rubbing them within. I'm going to skip a couple. Sorry, I thought I'd get through the whole thing, but 13. I was reciting Lord Alfred Tennyson on my back, in a canoe floating the holiest way I knew, so close to ghosts and went pale for a moment before finding myself wandering among high pines. I didn't expect to emerge in white already with my heart in his hand, just as normal as a shell rests on my chest. Didn't expect to hand it over so early on at the boundary of our properties in a dream, in the grasses where he ended and I began. I'm feeling very still. Now that we've crossed over into the pale, where we are soon to thread, soon to embellish, then loop back into each other, braided the way we were taught to approach each other, the same way. 14. From the mountainside, we appear to wear each other deep into the road. We appear in the braids of slowed water at our knees, as though prepared for a ritual among the falls. It breaks all around us, lace in its final wear. We nearly swallow ourselves, bear every blue we have to give until lakes settle in with the stars. We came to see stars wriggle, to wander the unknowing grays and blues until finally our flowing bears our wrists. I wait for you, and see, the stars wait for you. Resting on an altar crochet, we approach land and sky, kneeling together on that day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tacey. That was absolutely beautiful. Can we please give another round of applause for Tacey? Yeah. Thank you. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our second reader of the night. Lou Cornum is a diasporic Diné writer, editor, and academic born in Arizona and based in New York City. Their work traverses Native American studies, science fiction, cultural studies, and gay communism. They are currently an assistant professor in the Department of Social and Cultural Analysis at NYU and part of Pinko magazine. Please join me in welcoming Lou to the stage.
All right, thank you for the introduction and everyone for being here. Just gonna get this. I don't think I'll go 15 minutes, but you never know. Just want to get that so I can keep track of myself. I feel like for so many of you, I've been here like for a long time and you already know what I'm about, but then I see there's some new people here. But yeah, I've already kind of said that I'm sort of coming back around to poetry, and it's somewhat a way to, I don't know, get to things that I can't always express through scholarly argument. And so the first poem that I'm going to read for you is actually an essay that already kind of showed me pushing at the limits of like academic speech, and I went back and changed this essay into a poem. So the name of that essay is Irradiated International, and so this is Irradiated International, the poem. In 1998, 6 Diné elders went from where the earth was torn up to where earth and sky got split apart like never before. They reinscribed the irradiated lines that manifest control through calculated chaos. Half lives and less on the highway of the atom, the highway of tears. A report titled, They Never Told Us These Things. Wolves of Chernobyl, glowing caribou, Diné bodies, by Rio Puerco, a light with slow death and even more persistent life. What does it mean to ask forgiveness for something that was forced upon you? The stranger tree branches through oceans and atmospheres, the echo of internment camps, the reflection in reserves, bombs, borders, and the bomb of the border dropped into people's lives, lingering, lingering. The sore that does not heal from the shrapnel of the nation state. Radiation wants a home too. Solidarity that is not solid. Meld with the mutant consciousness and deform what deforms me. A world reorganized with the practices and poetics to live in it. So that's based on an essay that's sort of trying to connect these different zones of uranium mining, as well as like the testing of uranium or of atomic bombs and the dropping of the atomic bomb. So it's a much longer, complicated essay that I've condensed. But actually what drove me back to writing poetry was the experience of going to the movies. And so it became this like writing practice where every time I would go to see a movie by myself, I would write a poem about that. And so it actually became about like walking to the movie and then walking around after the movie and thinking about it. So these are also very like New York poems. Moonbeams on the sunken canal. I came back into the city with both shoes on but one headphone out, a little like kid that way. Between parks, diner booths, a bedroom that isn't mine, and an office that can be taken away. I sat by a pond outside the courthouse and some junior suit ate chicken nuggets next to me. Everyone is polite, moving tools from hand to mouth in the city on top of a submerged city. A young man sticks out a forked tongue in concentration to take a picture of advertisements on the demolition wall. Peeling green of old ad lichen is all over this part of Broadway, near shuttered Blood Manor. The gallery windows are dark and the door is heavy. The avenue and its desolate brightness suddenly shut down by the beat of a drum. A film is erupting in the corner with song. 2 channels. There are men covered in feathers and flowers. There are slime green stars that shoot up from the ground. If things had been different 35 or 135 years ago, I could have been a powwow MC. From the thumbnail island, I make a call. If squinting, my brother's face is in the filmmakers. My hand only held the champion's envelope so I could pass it to another. Out of the loop. The Dominican Day Parade comes as a surprise every year. 6th Avenue is closed and I have a new version of the same sinus infection. Hi again at the Masonic Hall Messenger Center. You've been there before but never remember. It works, cleaning bowls out with dirt, but salt's even better. Would things have been different those days? If you walked home, if you biked away and told everyone what happened? She is making holes in the ground. You are turning a corner and wondering whether to stay behind or speed ahead. This time, though, the bus doesn't come. You sail north under a camouflage cape. The hot dog vendors sip their secret soup and wave you ahead with their own symbols of the forest. Marilyn, I'm in the turret. I am waiting for you to come or someone to tell me to go. A monster's brain spilled over South Central Park. All the synapses got stomped over. I climbed the mica-scaled rock face and sit with quartz handholds, keeping time alive, waiting for the moment of my violation, its recollection. Stones are surfacing, and somewhere in Black Canyon City, my grandfather, the once cowboy, with a split gut and a rotted head, is falling over for the last time. Two hours, 11 minutes in Roma. I have been reading Darwish in the bars of Pineto and trying to smoke cigarettes. Draw, tap, sigh. Women walk by and run their hands through their hair. Lucky strikes left burning. Puff, puff, nap. The ticker-taker smoking in the gutter comes in quick. Tap, puff, toss. Cinema Aquila is next to the street in Città Aperta, where a partisan lover is shot down. These days, movies are trying hard to remake heterosexuality and unmake revolutions. Snap, break, gasp. All that sweat, but they do not cry. Buildings flapping in the wind. The woman in front of me storms out during the sex scene, leaving her man behind. The ticket taker is with her friends smoking on the corner. My host has prepared pesto, so I walk back smiling. 2 dikes, and there's an Accademia della Crusca between us. A crow flew in the kitchen window. Licia screamed. Language makes a labyrinth, but gives out the shortcuts too. So I guess that's actually a secret one about Rome. One sings, the other doesn't. It's the first day of fall, and everyone in the bike lane is cursed. Netflix bought the last beautiful building in a patchwork of privately owned public plazas. There's cigar smoke and a Bluetooth man and a bag man yelling about TikTok. Inside, everything is throwaway, throwback. The woman 4 rows ahead says she saw this movie opening night of the New York Film Festival, 1977, in the unfrozen time. After the girl bottle-fed a baby under a cutout print of Baudelaire. And what came of it all? Some people went crazy and some people went sane. Which was worse? I never belonged to the family of women, but I was always nearby. The camera pans over me like Mathieu, Solon, or just distracted. As a satellite to its planet, I am apart. Old friends come back into orbit from behind red curtains and brick walls. I can't remember her last name, so I type from the past in its place. Twist ending. It's August and the movie theaters are full of serial killers. The wounded woman and the spectral Indian rise and fall in darkened corners. If it's not the first or last act, it's the third. Dangling signifiers fall like an anvil. Every house has a bedroom. Every American narrative has a cupboard with an Indian inside. Blood, gash, surprise attack. Out of the dusk pan sift crumbs of the recent past. Chapters of murder told out of sorts. There are elaborate machines translating aggression, working at all scales, some in tandem, other askance, like the boys reinventing ways to touch in the park. I am stumbling on wheels over ruptured path. The appeals of an unsolved disappearance are as mundane as they are mysterious. Conspiracy of the senses. There is always a breeze on Palmetto Street. Tonight it turns to wind. Corner couplets, cold beer and sandwiches, a bodega bag the size of a life. Quote, it was 2005 and I had never met any vegan or feminist people. Have you ever been taken under someone's wing? There is another world made for wheeled feet. Last weekend, in a crowded theater, the filmmaker's hair brushed my knee. Tonight, a video punk stands at the computer making new sounds, different colors, come from a recently old film. I leave without buying a cassette, no means to play it. The storefront shutters rustle in the palmetto winds. There's a tub filled with snow globes put out on the curb. What would it take to be just a little more mad? Outdoor burrows, big sky, buildings this low, a platform this high. All this world, and no name of your own. By the highway. My love is going uptown, I am staying down. Someday we will go together to Locomotive Lawn. There's a place along the way the skaters call paradise. Paradise to wheeled feet is an open pier. Far from the gates, I waft around like Thai pop from the farm stand. We spend our spare minutes flipping through first lines and film titles. The days become dates. The gloves turn mirrors to waterways, poets to the possessed. This odious Orpheus, who does he remind you of? Putting the pictures out of order can make time go backwards, but only for so long. My brother is in the off-screen extension of a wind-torn passageway. He is stringing beads, avoiding demons, and eyeing the glass pane vendor. In every court here and beyond, the authority of death is arbitrary, total. The movie has to end, and at this theater, they turn the lights on right away. Everybody working has left the lobby. Reels are unspooling themselves in the projection room, celluloid puddles. Back at the crossroads, I step on a black leather glove, a job left half done. If I was a poet, I would pick it up. Company. How quickly it all hardens into cliché, the skin of a frozen burrito stuck to a stoneware plate. Alone and alive in terminal contradiction, between a politicized project of loneliness and the coerced collectivity of executing someone else's script. Inside the landscape of a singing mouth, the quivering interior of just one more time. Out, you can never see a movie alone. Somebody has to press play. They keep us there with light and darkness. They tell us when to leave. It's not that I never danced. I did most things only once and from the side. I stared out the leaky window of my face. Some days you're Elaine Stritch, and it doesn't matter if you wear the hat or not. The orchestra is leaving, planes are taking off. The composer is dying, but won't die for some time yet. I would like at least to learn not to fling life away when it lands on me. All right, and this is my last poem. It's a bit of a longer one and is kind of combining the impulse towards essay with this interest in film as well. It's called Silver Lives. Or Silver Lives. Adam Silver was a Dene actor with one screen credit to his name. He played the starring role of Traham Lee in MacArthur Park, directed by Bruce Schwartz. They wrote the story together. A Mojave man trapped by lack and longing commits a murder in the middle of the city, fulfilling an arc from exile to fugitive. The movie looks older than 1976 because of the black and white and how the spools of time operate in LA on a lag. Should have said that was part one, this is part two. Part two. In a Los Angeles hotel, two fates jitter. Adam and Trium, one the actor, the other the actor, the one the actor, the other the acted, transported into one body through euphemism. Navajo and Mojave, American, Indian, urban relocation, reluctant killers in the land of dead dreams, a list of debts hung on the wall. There's just space enough, a bedside, a sink, cells of strangers. Intimate anonymity was once a comfort, now the elevator is a cage. Adam is waiting for his break, Trium trying to break away. By a lake in the park, everything looks like cruising. Him leaning on a tree like that, bell bottoms and two soft bellies not meant to meet, but movies were made for murder. In a bar with a name like the American, the infrared channels get rowdy. Bunker Hill's long gone, but there's the pool table powwow. Try him later, he's lost in projections of his demise. The house behind the house, the secret world of Indians, friends get kidnapped by dead-end jobs. Nervous men in uniforms only know how to cook up spaghetti, whiskey, and eggs. Two men makes a feast and laughter too. There's no record of these dues, nor the crying confessions that come later. One brother hides the other like a bag of bottles beneath the bed. An alleyway is an event horizon with the singularity of a policeman. It takes darkness to be discovered. The pattern coalesces just before it disintegrates all meaning. Stewed guts and grime icing on rust cake. The night collapses, not even a neon moon. The grand plan, now one of those sinister piles of sodden clothes by the curb. At the downtown bus station, all fates are reunited as stranger friends. One conversation can fix your whole life. One person could save you. Adam in triumph from every version of himself he had to play to get back to that smiling boy once held in the soft light of home, the past. The door is still open when Adam's name next to Triumph's goes rolling down the screen. Part 3. In the psychogeography of recognitions and regrets, Google Maps is a grieving device. IMDb a postmortem. Between findagrave.com and incarceratedlookup.gov are the ones who fall through the comment board cracks. Part 4. In MacArthur Park was screened as part of City Indians, urban Native America and 1960s, 70s film at BAM Cinemas. The programmer, Adam Puron, is a filmmaker himself, someone I've talked to and been edited by. We are connected on the subject of urban Indians on screen. Adam stood in front of velvet curtains and told the audience about historical context and the relatives of people who made the movie. He had an email from Adam Silver's daughter. Silver did not have a starring role in her early life, but he was posed for a comeback. When I was in the theater alone in the middle of an aisle, listening to the email from Adam's daughter, I thought of my brother. He drowned in a man-made lake in Surprise, Arizona. Historically, it's where old people go to die, next to golf courses and quiet manufactured bodies of water. Nobody knows when my brother was there. He used to avoid certain sections of the sprawl because he believed they were the domains of demons. My brother never talked about being an actor, but he wanted everyone to like him. He was proud of his smile. He told me he'd like to be called Fox. Not like the animal, but Fox Mulder, a special agent. Fox liked to smell good. I often pass men who smell like him, thick with J.C. Penney and stale weed. Before he died, my brother was in a big box hospital close to the lake where he was found. I came in to surprise like some dusty desert private eye, chasing clues from the scraps left in his backpack, tracing the metadata on the last video he sent my mom. At the end of a Phoenix suburb cul-de-sac, I felt the edge of a conspiracy, a network of halfway houses run by religious Liberians. When he died a week later, I stopped trying. I left those days in suspense. That's what reminded me of Adam's daughter. I could see her tracking the case on the streets of downtown LA. Unlike me, she found him alive and happy to see her. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Thanks for the tenderness and the humor. Can we please give another round of applause for Lou? Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce you to Joan Naviyuk Kane. Joan Naviyuk Kane's books of poetry include The Cormorant Hunter's Wife, Hyperboreal, Milk Black Carbon, Dark Traffic, and With Snow Pouring Southward Past the Window, which is forthcoming in 2026, in addition to the chapbooks The Straits, Sublingual, A Few Lines in the Manifest, Another Bright Departure, Ex Machina, and All the Ones Who Chose to Leave Her, which is forthcoming in 2028. Her edited volumes include the 2017 Griffin Poetry Prize Anthology, Circumpolar Connections, Creative Indigenous Geographies of the Arctic, and the forthcoming Colonialism and the Environment, Past, Presents, Futures. A Guggenheim Fellow, Radcliffe Fellow, Native Arts and Cultures Foundation National Artist Fellow, and Whiting Award and Paul Engel Prize recipient, she's a 2025 United States Artists Fellow raising her children in Oregon, where she's an associate professor at Reed College. Welcome, Joan.
Iliranimin wanga atiranavayuk uivimiuronga slikayarmiuronga. I'm going to try to move this up a little bit. So I did the extremely professional thing of running to take a nap and winnowed down my reams of papers that I was carrying around earlier today and just grabbed 10 pages and come. And I fell asleep, and I want to thank my friend Carmelo for calling me at 6:55 to be like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I'm coming." So I forgot my poem, so I'm going to read some new ones that are not in the book that are coming out in March, and then I'll read one new one. Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to stop it ad-libbing. All right. This, for now, is going to be called... this is called Stockholm Suite with Sea View. The nearest river is deep, the farthest river is deep. The nearest I will come to myself is halfway across the world. The road to crisis runs right through me. The shipwreck beckons me. The waters of the Dnieper remain dark in my memory. The chapel of St. Nicholas, the wonder worker on waters, rises from the dark river. The chapel stood illuminated, and from this place I prayed. The worship of holy places can take many forms. The vernacular fails me. The greater whitethroat, the oyster catcher, the wood pigeon made song and call. The melancholic willow warbler, the redstart, the Eurasian crow vanished. These, like the others, reappeared. The lava flow elsewhere formed volcanic cone with its eruption. The harbor of a nearby town was cooled with seawater long ago. The thralled went ashore and took shelter in the hills. The brother of a man who was killed hunted and murdered thralls in turn. The women have left their names to diesel tugs. The waters churn and at times tranquilize now. So when I left Alaska, I felt like I fell out of love with language, and some of these poems might demonstrate that. These are poems from the collection out on March 3rd. This is called After Anchorage. Told to put a light in my lamp, I turned from a daughter's work to take a tabular rock in hand, then struck as hail would strike, as a man who has grown sick of his wife will scrape and grind as if he no longer hells infants worldward in their blood rush. Hollowing a cup to hold the oil I would otherwise have swallowed, I trust in nothing near, hungering for the light of the leaf as it unfurls, tending what I can, beguiling none. I tangled my neck in tresses, cutting the necks from my dresses, snarling what I knew, what I know I learned down through my dirt floor. I could have burned the smear of bare tallow I once felt forced to eat on an arm of the sea whose waves but wrought their white across and up into the wind when what should harbor winter now darkens down to parch. And this poem begins and ends with a handful of lines from Elizabeth Bishop's poem, Brazil, January 1, 1502. And those lines in their entirety I will spare you from, but just keep in mind that after I read the title, there's like 2 lines of Bishop and then my stuff, and then at the end, 2 lines of Bishop. Portland, January 1, 1502. Each out to catch an Indian for himself, those maddening little women who kept calling. January's nature follies our senses somewhat as she gritted theirs with firework, dread of the smoke cloud dark and how it would reek of greed to rise with the slow poem of the new year, with a voice I mistook for a grave I wanted to walk into. Now I know, like a willow grove, like a kelp grove, like a birch grove, a spruce grove, like Angelica in the hemlock, where the paper bark boats should spin away on the wind after fire, after ash. Wallowing after flood, after the ash grave, and under such ash paper as I called to my mother, and never having reached her, reaching always, calling to each other, or had the birds waked up, and retreating, always retreating behind it. This is called After Anchorage 1. After Anchorage, I had read the ash, the scoria, their slippage. There rose no world, there rises only islands. So then we went away into the east to wait until the stars began disappearing, when at last we could ignore the natter of what, during the last drought, proved to scare the calves we heard only as noise, as through heat, through the door on a train. A refusal last time I slept to dream of death. Instead, I dreamt of trammeling pasque flower, of having swam backward across the lake. Okay, I'm thumbing hastily through many poems I despise, which is saying a lot, that I hate them this much, because they're bad. Okay, I really struggled. I struggled with this motherfucking book. All right, there's a little sequence. So a lot of these poems are paired or in series. This is part of a series with the title Counter Poem. Ordering myself to announce what I knew of love, I could only recall the sky as it darkened, a cache of reindeer exposed as the ice lens that made their grave thawed. Looking for another island without awareness, that the island had long since lost me, unlike the man who may have knocked baleen and lay in loose from ivory, an admonition or an accident. I will wait for him to walk the trail with me, though the trail today fills with rain, hail, more rain. We both know little, only that we will find a way through deluge, remembering something else of love, that the sky will change with abandon, with radiant syncope. And this is a poem called No Litanies. No, 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 I'm just gonna just keep repeating that until I land this title. No litanies, no strangers here, no more aching for the useful goods I left behind, no more uncles left to come to me in times of need, no more boy cousins to give me what they think could reach me, wound me. They age into men and petrify. They turn to shadow, night terror, sacks of lant, or jurisdictional abstraction. No spouse, no breach, no home left to long for. No more I want to go home, no more I want to go into another time. No more want, just need, nothing real. No ease of pain, no east left to get, to escape. No more knives carried past as if by pure silver rivers, just hunger. Hunger for the oil I could render from a seal. Not the one, another, turns only into a symbol in arcanity. Okay, I'm going to end with one long and messy poem that for now will be referred to as an untitled poem because I have the correct version of this poem folded up neatly on the bed of my hotel room. Okay, this is really long. It's an untitled poem, and here it goes. Having warped pulling the strings, you work no ploy together. To lose such hoke pangs arrhythmic, extincts ardor with a smile, with deceit. Takes us with time, this capturer of land, an eraser of pretty images. How crisis actors ruse to use my friend going blue like one red cry, one mere, though elaborate illusion. I'd wish to light our life by one green flare, to myth through the apocalypse we could never share. Instead, I burn in plain sight, not sad at it. And of Pandora's tub, some vain command of folklore to see our maybe better honorer beneath the waltering phenomenology, saying yes now, unveil, urgent, go run from him, his support artificial, from the lie and the lie of the best storm. Here, with all the years I have grown and tended yarrow, and both my children beneath 4 birches. And from this day I number my days and sum my asters, though I fled uphill at dusk again, as a barred owl's wings down beft my face. And then downstream, as a snake shot across my path, I could not lie to myself, and will not allow another man with his sadness to erase me. Tangling holy grass, you lost sight of our last fixed landmark. Tangling holy grass, you gave at length of the puzzling dispensation. And despising the tangle in the holiest gold of the grass, rain now rains, and how silver it drowns, the cannon, the club, the medallion, the axe, the ruler, the scroll, the book, your book. And having spurned sin and love and the despaired and the hopeless, let me wreathe snowbed willow, laurel, wood sorrel, ladum, lilac, blue flax, linden, yarrow, vervain, plaiting vetiver, let me wreath you, the mountain. Then row-like from every mirror's salience, I remember from the winter I will never see again. Fontanelles, those groves, the hymns of roses and loaves falling from the hands of my love. Worse, straining to lean against, wobbling away, running. As my from seed, sweet peas, and moonflower singed and went to rot, I was called Jane and then Jill. I saw Jane as she strode while I still could. Earlier, Jill and Ralph walked a dog in the other direction. Blurs, old stories, enough distracted coddling. A hallucinated empire won't yoke me to the ones I follow, so I vanish into other algorithms. The heat of midsummer, unmerciful of late, how it bores too through the stippled field of my scalp, from which I am now already gradually absent and crowned with an exit of Molotov's bread. The grotto, the shrine, the ache at the end of the ache at the end of the road where the odes or the odors of disorienting blooms gave way to pith. The song on its sixth string, a ghost soon too, multigravida. 4 petals fold, closed petals. 4 bruises fold, closed petals, tremor paper thin. I hold the stem to a flame, clattering no miracle. Eradicate, I fix no illustrious threat, but flatter and flatter the poppy. Twice he stood over me to claim, I believe in grace. I believe I heard something evil in the distance. Fewer stars. Obsidian tumbling, a desperation, nothing but crows, indifference. Alone in my fresh bed, I am provoked by the calls of complex and continuous mourning, by the calls of each male true thrush as they lift from the boughs of hawthorn, cedars, dogwood, birch, yews, firs, and the thickets as they overgrow. May I draw down to sleep where they will be lost on me. Throstled, I strain at this music at dawn, and eddying with a petulant man may have more to do with pity than want. And I would drift with the burnt objects of his words, I would drink them in and make no scruple about them. He took in hand the metallurgy of some of my more difficult questions. I had more to give. In time, I might give them. Against this theme, I am assured of what the bright spells have ordained for us, the canticles, and what part of me needs nothing of this. The moon, Bach in the sky, a mirage I wanted to walk into, in the claim of the palm, in the palm of the mountain. Iliranemi.
Thank you so much, Joan, and thank you for reading that last poem. It was incredible. I gasped so many times. So it is now my pleasure to introduce you all to our 4th reader of the evening, Nicole Wallace. Nicole Wallace's first chapbook, Wasamowin, was published by IMP in 2019. Most recently, Nicole was the June-July 2020 Poetry Micro-Resident at Running Dog and a 2019 Poets House Emerging Poets Fellow. Recent work can be read in print in Survivance, Indigenous Poetics, Volume 4, Scene, and online at Running Dog, A Perfect Vacuum, and Lead Hub. They have also contributed to programs and publications celebrating the work and life of the late poet Diane Burns, author of Writing the One-Eyed Ford. Please give it up to Nicole.
Thank you, Maria. And thank you to you, Mike, and to Rob for hosting us today, and also to Carr. Carr was one of the Poetry Project's Emerging Fellows last year, so great to be back here at Poets House again, and to be reading with a lot of my close friends and hopefully new friends, and So, Nicole Indigenous Cause, Makwan and Dodame, Kakabakong and Donjaba, Lenape Hoking and Danongo. And I'm going to read one poem from my first chapbook I'm sorry, that's not my first chapbook. My first chapbook is Wasamon, and my second chapbook that's forthcoming is called Anungunsag, but I'll get there after this one. My girl, named after a street, conceived after a kegger. The further away we get, this fine dark hair curls to ringlets. Muckaday, Witabay, this fire pulled from the river. Gichizibi Oma, Kakabakong. Nicole is not who I thought she was, and I don't yet know the word for Gawin Mashe Ngakena Masi Nimbaba. I just laid on the floor for a while. The problem is I can do whatever I want, and I'm not just supposed to know how to say I don't know in the first place. Let the wind in on nights like this, illusion of clouds moving through the sky. Nothing more lonesome than that lonesome fucking Dutch painting you love so much. Her hair next to our bed. Do you like conflict? Let it in, this humidity. Look at the lights come down through the trees, my girl. The way it looks pink and gray between the sun and this morning on Wyckoff, this exhaust. How do you say the flowers fell from the trees? Be more specific, my girl. Learn your grammar, my girl, I'm learning, I say. Ogini Wandeg, pink roses on the pillowcase. Good fortune comes, it comes and comes, and I don't know what's good for me, but oh so deeply. Elemental pressures, beautiful stones. The strength card comes up. It says, take the lion by its face, my girl. Learn your grammar. Look down into its eyes, down into it. Uppane, into Ijuajagade. And I want to get on top, but I'm just so tired. Let the wind brush over it. Bad judgment comes and comes, my girl, you were learning what it means. Wa bigwaning gipangisanun mitukuk, when the flowers fall from the trees. Gisana, Oma, Minawa, Nodanok, this cold snap. It's a myth, Laura says. The smell of $6 shirts, the light coming down through the trees, the grass. Nicole is not who I thought she was, my girl. All this green, Ojawishkwawaze Indab. Okay, I'll read this one. The next couple of poems I'll read are from my forthcoming chapbook that's called Anungunsag, and this one is called Niaman. Amongst these shifts flicker green, blue, Nongom, Wabang, Bijanago, Beka, how as if this weight turns away of repetition and still, Jesus, and now tonight this green. What games do you have to play in order to do what you need, as in it is what it is not? Gido doag, gado doag, gawin, gawesa. What we are meant to carry, what we meant. Blue, green, there is no distinguishing upon this account. Go easy upon this account as if that were something, space held by a shadow, when there is only one word for. This one is called Wabanang. Release me, and that is not a wish, it's a demand, a humidity that is unbearable. Looking to what I figured was the east, I watched the colors, coral, orange, stucco, small glass-paned windows reflecting. I was finding the words to describe a feeling, a betrayal. It was so cold and peaceful when time free and wretched, not a preference but a fact. What needs tending in your wake goes, it goes, mewaja, from the time before. I would not call this forgiveness, and I don't care because as you recall in here, I move in my own time. 10 of swords, the devil, the tower, and then fitful the sleep was over. Don't give up on me because I'm too difficult, Nicole, to know when to let the knife cut clean. A grueling love, may wish. Jawanang. Between what and the dark they're forming, I can sit here all day pruning branches, my love, to bring in. Wood greened with mosses and overgrowth that goes nowhere. It came to pass, I wanted to go away to a place for a while, outward, into something, Ingi oeja iuzibing, an unpredictable body accumulating darkness. And I became a current, a different kind of current, a repair that felt like an undoing, a question that came with consequence. Geet Kendasalin. If you were expecting to find here what you had earlier found, if you were expecting what you thought you might find, you'll not find it here. A night with no reflection, an axis with no stars, use your word, Ikadoan, minnow Ikadoan. Cut by the page, cut by the card, cut the deck. What writes the story? Life take me back, though others were present, days have passed. Where's the miraculous change promised by an astrological event? Ikindasawen, minnow Ikadoan, pink flowers at the corners everywhere I go. Okay, I'm going to read a last one. And if you were here earlier for the panels, I talked about this poem a little bit. It's called Inheritance, and it's supposed to be done, but I don't think it's done. I have more to say, but maybe it's the beginning of the next thing I work on. But it's a poem that was written for my niece. In a past life, or maybe future, measured by voice, though I knew pieces of the plot, this time I let her tell the story. From above, it was different. Let me tell you what I want for once. We used to drive her to work in his pickup. It smelled of gasoline, ice layered in crystals harsh on the dash, floor just the metal of the body. There was always something hanging from the rearview mirror, his keys, beaded leather, nickel, gifts from his grandmother. He told me that someday when I grew up, I would be able to name all the songs on the radio, know all the words. Ginwange, we, inandi, indade, ginwange, inday, inday, inday. It took a long time. Now he says, someday I'll tell you the whole story. I'll sit down with you and I'll tell you the whole story, everything that happened. An omission with great clarity. Count with me. 1, 2, Ginwange, Giandade, and Dade, Inandi, and Dade, Ginwange. G'day, g'day, g'day. Around the fire we peel bark from the branches, thin branches meant to tie. I'd just rather have a nice time, have a nice time. On a quiet night across the gravel road from the lake, we sit in the dark. The stars I point out to him. I'm trying to remember the story of Ojig, something to impress him. I've come to understand this kind of music. I've known it my whole life. The space that exists between. What happens when you know the words, songs, fissures that cannot be mended. He asks no questions. He already knows the story and what he's had to tell himself to get here. I've run out of things to say, given to ground. Ginwange, Ingi, Enandamin, and Dede, Ginwange, and Daemon, and Daemon, and Daemon. We're standing in the water a July afternoon, sun coming up just past the midday mark. High above the birches to the east of where it will set later, a flock of smaller birds dart at a hawk, a predator to their nest. I tilt my head back and feel the light breeze from the southwest warm the orange-black of my eyelids. In it, I see her face, infinite, unfolding, small feet kicking below the water, mine light on the sooted familiar bottom, bring me up and sink down again. The cloudiness is settled. My hands move through the water, rocks slicked over with algae. This lifting up, ground beneath the water holds what's returned. An accumulation of stars, light still traveling. In the dream that reoccurs, the house was the same. He unpacked the boxes, her belongings at the edge of the window now. He unwrapped pieces made by our grandmother. 1, 2, Niswe, Niwen, Wabanung, Jagwanung. He unpacked them. Threaded yarn in alternating colors, woven beads carefully threaded in, long swatches of yarn unfolded as each were removed. I was numbering them 1 through 5, no 4, a cardinal direction, to show but not tell the way forward. Gedamen, Gedamen, Gedamen. Rain at the window, train whistle in the distance in the sleepless deep night. How do you describe the feeling of the hours given small numbers in between and ahead of the dawn, when grasses grow damp and green dark beneath the sky towards the stars at the edges of the evergreen? Wajash moving through the accumulation, a breath of air at the roots, our hands grasping the soil. Miigwech.
Thank you so much, Nicole. That was absolutely breathtaking. And we are almost wrapping up for the night, but we still have one more reader for tonight, Elise Paschen. Elise, an enrolled member of the Osage Nation, is the author of Blood Wolf Moon, Tall Chief, The Nightlife, Bestiary, Infidelities, and Houses, Coasts. As an undergraduate at Harvard, she received the Garrison Medal for Poetry. She holds MPhil and DPhil degrees from Oxford University. Her poems have been published widely, including Poetry Magazine, The New Yorker, a Norton Anthology of Native Nations Poetry, and The Best American Poetry. She has edited or co-edited numerous anthologies, including The Eloquent Poem and the New York Times bestseller Poetry Speaks. A co-founder of Poetry in Motion, Dr. Paschen teaches in the MFA writing program at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. Please give a warm welcome to Elise.
Thank you so much. Why doesn't everybody get up and just stretch for a second? Because I know I was getting really stiff. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much to Rob for his vision and putting this whole weekend together. Really incredible, Rob. I remember when you first started speaking about it. Many thanks to Maria Elisa for orchestrating our event tonight, for being our host. I'm so happy to share this podium with these incredible poets and authors. And thank you so much to all of you for all of your work. I'll be reading poems tonight from my new poetry collection, Blood Wolf Moon. The epigraph is a line from an Osage song, and it reads, to the door of the house of mystery I have come. The book begins with a long poem called Heritage, which consists of a bracelet of poems where the last line of the first poem becomes the first line of the next. So today, during our discussions, Chris actually came up with a name for this long poem, a new form, and he said that we should call it, or I should call it, an Osage crown. So thank you so much, Chris, for that. So I'll read several poems from Heritage. Heritage 1. Once I had a name for everything I possessed, but now am silent, afraid to trespass. When I leave the conversation or seem preoccupied, I travel that island where lupins in summer devour the rocky terrain, those flowers named after the slate blue wolves who keen in night's hollow, who scavenge the tundra across the hectares and hectares, the way they test the air, how their topaz eyes never lose sight of their quarry, how they track any escape with a slow nod, a careful paw to the earth. Those wolves never roved that island. I only pretend they did. Stories of those who came before, the ones who followed the cloudy gray, the loafer wolves or buffalo runners across the plains, chanted their songs, hunting, haunted, found their shapes, carved silhouettes in the sky. Those whose land extended past states, the extinct, extinguished, our next of kin. So I'm now going to skip to Heritage 9. 9. For the sake of a dime, oblivious owners invented names for teams, braves, chiefs, Redskins. Football zealots, my parents rooted for the Bears. Last night, someone holding a glass of Sancerre at a posh French restaurant said, "Why should they care about the name Redskins? Why make such a fuss?" My blonde hair fooled her. Our host whispered, her family is Osage. After we pushed back chairs during goodbyes, she apologized. When my mother, Maria Tallchief, danced the Muse Terpsichore in Apollo on the stage of the Paris Opera House, the audience embraced her, shouting, "Encore, encore!" The headlines of 47 read, "Peau rouge danse à l'opéra." Peau rouge, red skin, a phrase she learned to ignore. Reading my friend's manuscript, I'm stunned to discover the origin of redskins, the bodies of natives brought in for bounty. During my youth, every Sunday in the fall, my parents bicycled along Lake Michigan to cheer their home team playing in Soldier Field, a stadium named as a memorial to those who died in combat, constructed the year my mother was born. 10. The year my mother was born in Fairfax, Oklahoma, white men were marrying Osage women and killing them for their head rights. My mother was born a year after the Indian Citizenship Act was passed, Indians tied to the U.S. for or against their wills. 3 years before her birth, her half-sister, baby Ruth Grave, was dynamited with nitroglycerin by outlaws scavenging for diamonds and gold buried inside the casket. In the Tallchief plot, I wander through family history, the marble monuments, angelic statues, measuring each step on grass, memorizing photographs. This one of a striking beauty, my great-grandmother Eliza Big Heart Tallchief, surviving her husband by 50 years. The widow, the adored grandmother of my mother, Eliza. Only now do I see my name, a permutation of hers. At home in Chicago, every day I pass family photographs framed on walls, my great-grandfather's oval sepia portrait of his boyish face replicated on the headstone. Instead of the young bride, here is Eliza, a tribal elder wrapped in a multicolored blanket, standing outside her front porch, a photo taken after all those years she outlived him. So, as some of you know, or some of you may know, a line from my poem Wigia was used as the title for David Grant's book and Martin Scorsese's movie, Killers of the Flower Moon. The line in the poem reads, during Zaga Zika Setha, the killer of the flower's moon. After attending the Osage Nation premiere of Killers of the Flower Moon, I had the chance to spend some time with Lily Gladstone, who portrays Molly Burkhart. So it was Molly's family who was murdered during the Reign of Terror, 1921 through 1926, a tragic period of American history when outsiders killed the Osage for their oil head rights. My own Tall Chief family lived in Fairfax during this time. So this also, like Lou, this is a poem about a movie, or as I tell my students, an ekphrastic. After Killers of the Flower Moon. Lily Gladstone confides she wore my great-grandmother Eliza's blankets in 3 scenes. I don't remember my great-grandmother, though in a photo aged 90, she holds me in her arms. The actress plays Molly Burkhart, who lived down the street from Eliza in Fairfax. Hands out wide, Lily says Eliza had a broad wingspan. She pleated the wool broadcloth several times. Through an open window, wings outstretched, an eagle owl looms toward Molly's mother, dying from poison. My mother told me that owls in trees wailed the windswept night before her father died. Wrapping my great-grandmother's striped blanket around her shoulders, Molly asks her husband during a downpour not to close the window. Be still, she says, and listen to the rain. Eliza's blankets fold and unfold stories. Into every pattern I fly back home. The Osage replaced hide robes with Dutch-traded blankets in the mid-19th century. I stop breathing during the night of film when a murderer calls Osage women blankets. While her husband injects Molly with arsenic, each sister is shot, poisoned, or bombed to death. A woman in a voiceover foreshadows, this blanket is a target on our backs. In the quiet, after Molly's obituary is reported, I only hear rain. Outside the theater, silent thunderbirds overhead spread dark cloud-spattered wings, outlining circles across a broadcloth. Inside each target, a hole in the sky. So over many years, as we've been discussing today about dictionaries, the Osage dictionaries have inspired my work over many years. And this next epigraph comes from Carolyn Quintero's Osage Dictionary. We have 2 Osage dictionaries, and now we have an online Osage orthography dictionary. So the epigraph reads, who is going to undress that one with the red coat? Sumac in Pahuska. Against blackjacks, the wedding coat red of sumac flares bright, soon to be stripped bare. The tires drum a trot rhythm through the tall grass prairie, a horse raiding song centuries old. Dried up stalks, ghosts of sunflowers bow down in fields. During the drum ceremony, a wife will bestow her wedding coat, the one handed down through her family, once a soldier's. What can I release from this mortal heart? A red-tailed hawk alights in a cedar. Come wildfire season, those trees will explode. So 3 short ones. This next one is called Skywriting. Whistles, trills, distract my sense of line, splotches of chance, ink blots scrawl, what messages in air? Pine siskin, nuthatch, cedar waxwing, toss bright notes I try to write, while black-capped chickadees clutch stripped maple branches and spy into this glass aviary. They banter as I translate. My wing flutter shatters the divide. So the book ends with 3 poems, and I'll read the last 2. They were inspired by Carolyn Quintero's Osage Dictionary, and the poems consist of 3 columns. The first is in our Osage orthography, the second is the phonetic spelling from Quintero, and then the third column is in English. And I will read the English. Stationary. Sign with a thumbprint. Deep in this earth. The throat, like a waterfall, tumbles. A sycamore's shadow swallows the swan. We thunder while our teeth talk. Take off a garment. At sundown, leaf-like layers stipple the flooding water. Typewriter. I zigzag into the world, a woman, a wolf, within my heart, an untamed horse. What do you call it? The wind. Which pathway to that star or the orbit of a star? Vapor rises off standing water. Upstairs, tell untruths, that of a tongue. Time is just the ticking noise against metal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elise. And give it a round of applause to everybody tonight. Wonderful poems and wonderful offerings. And thank you all for being here again. I do like to, I feel like the need to close this convening, which has been sort of 2 days of deep thought, deep offering, deep care. So I just want to end in gratitude a little bit. And I also first want to start with Marie for hosting tonight. Thank you so much. Marie has been such an amazing thought partner. And then I just want us to also acknowledge once more, really everybody at Poets House, all of my colleagues at Poets House, every single one of them. We've been planning this for more than a year, and every single one of my colleagues touched this at some point. So please give it up for everybody at Poets House. It's been an amazing journey. there's a, the word for gratitude, and tomorrow my heritage language is gratu. That's one word. That's one way of saying it. Another way is sitsuos mase, which means sort of heavens have mercy or something. To us is like the word for God. And then another way of saying it is Sena Mase, which is sort of a more indigenized version of that. It means sort of the elders or the ancestors are merciful. So I just want to acknowledge that and leave you with some gratitude, and leave you with one poem, because I haven't had a chance to say any of my poems, but and this isn't indeed one of my poems either. This is a cento, but I wanted to share it with you because I think it's also an offering in human togetherness, which I think this entire symposium and this reading has been. And in fact, you can read it on the facade of Poets House. They are the letters that are wrapped around both stories of the space. So during the daytime, you can see it a little better, and when we don't have a scaffolding circling the entire building, you can read it even better. But that's this is the poem. It's called a cento, which means it's composed of the lines of poems of other poets. This is the world I want, the shared world. It is always dark inside the heart, and sometimes the heart asks strange things. Mine is the moon at the far edge of the words, between what should and should not be. Not everything is lost. If we are lucky, the light will be set free. Thank you so much for being here tonight.